So I think it is fair to say that lo-fi hip-hop wouldn't be where it is today without its jazz roots. It's been such a huge influence on the sound and the genre as a whole, and there's really a huge demand for a very much lo-fi jazz sound. You've got all sorts of huge playlists and YouTube mixes and even record labels that are dedicated to the lo-fi jazz sound. So in this video I'm going to walk you through the process of making an intrinsically jazzy lo-fi beat with all of the nostalgia and warmth of lo-fi hip-hop, but with those jazzy lead lines and a jazzy chord progression and some sounds and textures that'll just enhance the jazz sound of the track. Plus, I've got a competition in this week's video to win a $30 Spitfire Audio gift card, which can get you some of their amazing Originals series VSTs. So all you got to do to enter that is drop a comment on the video, drop a like on the video, and as soon as we hit just 300 likes, I'll be giving that away to one of the commenters at random. So yeah, I'm just going to start off by doing a little demo of the track we're going to make, and then I'll break down all the theory and the sounds behind it. So I just played a little snippet of the track I'm going to break down in this video. So yeah, I'll just talk about the initial chord progression and the thought process behind how I started this track. So the track is in F minor and it's in 3/4 time at 94 BPM, which is quite slow for 3/4 tracks. For lo-fi, usually if I'm doing 3/4, it'll be 100 minimum, maybe 115, 120. But I want it to be nice, slow, laid back. So I went for 94 BPM in 3/4 time. And 3/4, it can sort of give it a more intrinsically jazzy feel. It's not got the sort of steady hip-hop groove that 4/4 might have, more of a flow to it, which I think works really well when you're trying to incorporate the jazzy sound. The chords are starting off with an F minor 9, using minor 9s, minor 7s, 11th chord voicings, etc. can add a jazzy feel, I guess, anyway. So that's why I'm using extended voicing. So starting off with a minor 9, and then we're moving to a E flat major. So that would be the 1, then the 7 in the F minor. So minor 9, E flat major. And if you play the C, it sort of makes it a C minor 7, which is sort of what I do, I guess, as I'm passing between chords. So you can play around with the F minor scale to transition. And then I play through that twice, and then I can vary the sort of transition chords as I'm doing that. And then I move to D flat major 7, and then back to the E major, or the C minor. So it gives it a sort of quite a slow progression if I play it in context of the track. It's sort of like a slow switch between each chord, and the fact that we're staying on each chord long enough gives a great opportunity to solo and add some more jazzy sort of notes over the top of it. Whereas if the chord progression is too complex, it can just get a little bit too much, and it's hard to know when to play what. If you're switching between different keys or going through really complex jazzy chord progressions, it can just be really difficult to sort of write to, or at least I find it that way, as I'm not sort of a connoisseur of music theory. I like to try and start simple and then add as I progress through the track. So now I've got the main chord progression, I can start to mess around with the F minor. And I mean, I'm not 100% sure why, but playing the sort of F sharp into, say, a G can work really well, even though the F sharp's not actually in the F minor scale. Just having that sort of transition works well. I'm sure there's theory behind that. But yeah, so mess around with the F minor, and again, if you're playing on the guitar, the F minor scale is your friend when you're playing more jazzy stuff, because the F minor pentatonic just doesn't really give you the same sort of feel. So if you're sort of someone who plays a lot of pentatonic scales, then try and just add a few little notes and flares from the F minor scale into there, just to jazz it up a little bit. Now, when it comes to the actual project file, I tried to keep the sound soft and simple. I made the drums as jazzy as I could without sort of losing the hip hop flair. So start off with some market ambience just to set the mood. Usual stuff that I use, nothing crazy, just a little bit of chatter in the background makes it a little bit more interesting. And then we're on to the main sort of instrument bus. So I started off with the piano, which I just explained, but I used the felt grand piano off of Arnold's Composer Toolkit one, which I love because it's got that soft, real dreamy sound to it. And then all I've added to the piano is an EQ8 just to trim off some of the highs, and that's it. And what I've got is this main piano which plays throughout, and then when the drums kick in, I've got a second layer, which is the Noir felt. And I've cut the lows on the Noir felt and added a spaced out reverb. So on its own, it's just sort of adding, I guess, the airy sound to the keys when everything else drops in. And that comes in a couple times throughout the track. Next up, we've got the guitar. So again, soloing in F minor. And this is my usual guitar chain, but with a spaced out reverb on the end, just to give it a more sort of lush, dreamy sound. Loving the spaced out reverb. It's really great for that subtle shimmer. And the main guitar is just a little bit cleaner, and it's got a send going to the spaced out as well. So it's rather than spaced out on the bus, which sort of washes it out slightly, it's got the cleaner signal as well as the send signal. So it's still got a little bit of shimmer, but it's a little bit cleaner than the intro. Next up, I've got the lead piano, which again is the felt grand piano from Noir. And there's just a situation as before we get into the main track where I add in the filter delay. And then next up, I've got a little breathy vocal pad from the Oliver Patrice, which I've been loving so much recently. Sounds like this. So this is one of the VSTs that you can win if you comment, like, and all that stuff. So it's just a little sort of breathy vocal addition, which I pair with Alex Lens, which is another Spitfire plugin, which has got some really nice vocal samples in there. Next up, I've got a couple of lines for just, I wanted some trumpet in there. Obviously, I don't play the trumpet, as you can see from the demo. I had an ocarina, so I just found a few samples. I think this was from Splice, which I'm sure you can find if you search for this aha_BT. And they didn't quite fit what I was after, so I made them very quiet, and I added some spaced out and some portal on there just to make it super ambient. And I've also got this other sort of trumpet line as well. So again, it's super soft and ambient in the background. You can sort of make it out a little bit. But yeah, I just sort of wanted a bit of trumpet, and I've not got the best of trumpet VSTs. So next up, I wanted a little bit more ambient texture. So I just wanted to fill the background with lots of little sounds. So it's got, you know, a good sort of re-listen value, I guess. So this one, I used a texture from Texture Grid Abandoned Voices from the London Contemporary Orchestra Textures Spitfire Audio plugin. So on there, I've added Portal, Crystallizer, and some filtering just to cut the highs and lows. Just to give it this sort of mushy texture ambient sound. I just use the same notes that I was playing as the Oliver Patrice, which is often what I do. I've got a nice sort of pad. I'll just duplicate it onto different sounds just to layer it up a little bit. And then finally, I've got one more bus of the Oliver Patrice vocals, which I played throughout. I've grouped these together just so I can add some effects onto the master, which includes spaced out for some nice reverb, a little bit of side chaining to the kick, soothe just to cut away some of the harsher frequencies, and then we've got some auto filtering, which pans throughout the track just to give it a little bit more of a movement to it. So these again are just vocal stems. Some of them have got portal on just to give it a little bit more movement and delay and sort of granular synth, but they're all just basic vocal pads. I'm just stacking it all together to make it more full and interesting, and then all together you sort of get this texture to the background of the track. So now onto the kick, just a simple crunchy kick, ML Dusty Kick 1, as always, recently. I've got a new sample pack coming out very soon. I don't know if you saw on my Discord, I did mention it. There's going to be loads of competitions with it, and there's a couple of different sponsors and partners for it. So I'll explain more about that soon. But yeah, this is from the last pack, Dreamy Lofi Hip Hop Volume 2, just a simple crunchy kick. So before I go over the drums, I'll just talk about the bass. So the bass they're all a combination of double basses. So we've got Trillion in there, which is the sort of main warmth, growly bass sound that you get. It's just the acoustic Trillion main. And that wasn't quite enough for me because I wanted a little bit more of an organic sound. So I actually went to Fiverr for this one, and I commissioned just this extra little layer here, which I've layered into the Trillion sound because I just felt it wasn't quite bassy enough. So then you get that sort of natural buzzing and sort of more realistic feel because it's recorded from an actual double bass. And that all lays together for this. Just adding a little element of jazz that you wouldn't have had with a sort of standard guitar, bass, or just plugins. And then finally onto the sort of hi-hats, snares, etc. bus. So I tried to keep it as jazzy as possible without losing the sort of lo-fi feel. So I've textured quite a few things into this. Starting off with just a little hat brush. Very simple, sort of hi-hat with a brush sound. And that's just a steady, keeping the rhythm throughout the track. And on top of that, I've laid a few different sounds from Addictive Drums. So firstly, I've just got this little rim shot, which I've added some filter delay and just an auto filter to go at the top end. So it's sort of adding a little bit of a panned delay. I've also got some cymbals and rides in there from Addictive Drums. I think, what am I using here? So I'm using the soul and R&B kit for these. A little snare in there. Very soft, but more of a cymbal sort of ride sound in there. Then I've got a brush sample. This is just me recording the brushes onto the desk. Often when you're recording unusual time signatures, it's best to just record your own stuff, which is what I did for that one. And then finally, just a little crunchy lo-fi snare. And then if you hear that all together, it's got a nice sort of slow, steady, progressive movement to it. In the context of the track. We have a little drop out here. So I've just tried to keep it super dreamy and ethereal, whilst remaining true to the lo-fi and true to the jazzy side of it. So I'm really happy with how this one turned out. Not 100% sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but I will let you know when I release it. So I've just finished editing this and I've noticed that the Sleepy video competition has now hit the like target of 300 likes. So I'll be giving away one of the Valhalla plugins to someone. So I just added everyone into this random picker and we're going to pick a winner now. So the winner is Mike Dare. Congratulations. So I'll be in contact with you to arrange the prize, and also to Dark Flower, if you're watching this. I've still not been able to get in contact with you for the prize yet for last week. So do let me know, drop me an email and we'll arrange that. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next week.